Hello there. Have you ever been curious to know that by the, say, late 24th century, early 25th century, or even further into the future, how your beloved franchises like McDonald's, Disney, other things have survived in the United Federation of Planets? Well, we're going to quickly explore that odd topic that was just rumbling around in my head when I recently had a McDonald's. Would this still be around in the distant future? So, before we get started on this topic, like, share and subscribe, and comment your thoughts down below. First and foremost, the obvious question. Does, let's say, McDonald's exist in the future? Well, the answer is a little ambiguous. We have this comment that I came across on Quora, which I think actually sums up my thoughts on it, really. However, it is entirely plausible that organizations like that would persist on into the distant future. We do know that fast food chains and stuff still existed in the 21st century. Of course they did, because they're around now, with time travelers such as Jonathan Archer visiting a burger land when visiting the 21st century. But what would actually survive? And I think the capitalist and fall of Western civilization, organizations basically collapsing after the Third World War, does make a ton of sense. We do see things like restaurants and things in the 24th century, such as the Cisco's restaurants, but what about big chains? What about franchises? It's plausible because not all humans have completely abandoned money. We do know that places like Vegas are still recognized as a place to go and relax and enjoy yourself, which implies at the very least that gambling is still a thing, with Cisco mentioning when they created Vic's Holosuite program that he didn't want to go to 1960s Vegas because black people were not welcome there. And it was said to him by Cassidy, well, yeah, in the real Vegas, but it's different here. This is a hologram. It's not real. It's just for entertainment. So you would be welcome. But this tells us at least Vegas is still a place that people think of as somewhere you would go to gamble, to go to a good hotel, to have a relaxing holiday and vacation spot on Earth. Otherwise, why would someone bother creating that program other than for perhaps historical value? So what about other sort of franchises? What about Disney? Well, we do know from the 22nd century that movies and things like that are still commonly seen, although we know from 24th century dialogue, television, things like that did die out as a medium of entertainment in the 21st century, again, probably related to the Third World War. But there may have been a thriving entertainment industry of some kind. People were still watching them, after all, again in the 22nd century. It indicates things like Disney and stuff did exist, which then poses the question, did Star Wars exist? That's an interesting, because of the general perceived rivalry, which there is no rivalry, by the way. Anyone that thinks there's a rivalry between Star Trek and Star Wars fans, that you can only like one or the other, they're wrong. I like both. I just prefer Star Trek. So, yeah, probably Star Wars exists in the Star Trek universe as a medium of entertainment, as did Disney. Whether Disneyland still exists, well, it's never mentioned, which out of universe is probably for copyright reasons, but it's never actually referenced or mentioned. But then again, very few Star Trek shows take place on Earth for any prolonged period of time, and when they do, they're typically at Starfleet headquarters, and it's all business, not downtime.
McDonald! For you parents who don't speak Klingonese, he's saying, people of Earth, unite and bring your kids to McDonald's for a Star Trek meal. That's a regular hamburger, fries, soft drink, a McDonald and cookie sampler, and a Star Trek prize. Oh, yes, 5 different boxes based on Star Trek the Motion Picture. Action scenes, jokes, games. He says, take it from a father who knows. His kids love him. McDonald's Star Trek meal available for your kids now.
Now, we do know with contact with races like the Ferenginar is basically Vegas in space. As we've seen on Lower Decks and on DS9, when people visit the planet, everything's a gamble. Everything's about entertainment. The whole world is about profit. Even museums are basically casinos. Libraries are casinos. Quark's bar is a casino in space on board Deep Space Nine, both under the Cardassians and under the Federation. He has obviously things like games that are Ferengi and other origins, but he also is known to do things like poker and other such games that are played aboard the Enterprise, as well as at Quark's. You've got darts and other things that came from human culture, likely from influences of Bajoran culture, and obviously originating in Ferengo culture, Dabo, other such things. So the concepts are still there. It's whether or not any larger franchises do still exist. Now, we don't see them. We do know that Quark's bar has franchised out, and as you get them on Ferenginar and other places now. But hell, you might even have one in Vegas. I'd love to see a Quark's casino in Vegas, by the way. That'd be awesome. So what else might have survived? Personally, I don't see fast food chains actually surviving into the 24th century, just because, people are a bit more obsessed with health, and you've got replicators and things. Really, a dining experience becomes a dining experience. Why would you need fast food when you can just go to a local replicator on the high street, which very likely they can do? I don't imagine that things like street vendors and things have disappeared, but we do know that meat consumption, although still happens quite widely amongst humans, despite the sort of prudish cringing that some humans seem to have in the 24th century about the idea of eating a living animal, it's actually still fairly widely prepared and processed. So the odd burger stand, things like that, I can definitely see happening, considering burger stands have been around since the days of the Roman Empire. Look it up. It's a very cool fact. They actually have. And as a result, though, I can't really see the fast food chains like McDonald's, Burger King, KFC, things like that surviving. The decrease in meat consumption, the rise of the replicator by the 24th century, and generally people being more health conscious, and with the decline of mega corporations like things like Coca-Cola, things like McDonald's. Certain brands may still exist. For example, we've seen the Nike brand turn up in Star Trek in Deep Space Nine. So, companies or corporations or symbols like that, they may still exist. But as for something like McDonald's, other than for a nostalgic purpose, someone may be recreating them, I doubt it. And it also brings up the whole thing of in a currencyless society, who holds the copyright, and what do you do if someone tries to use that copyright? Does someone still own the copyright to McDonald's? There's a lot of real questions here that Star Trek never really answers, mostly because it doesn't spend a lot of time on planets in that fashion. I mean, could you imagine there being a McDonald's aboard the Enterprise? They clear out Guinan and 10 forward and gut it and throw in a McDonald's? I mean, it'd be interesting, but weird. I think the bottom line is mega corporations, or those great symbols of the 20th and 21st century like that, they did bottom out in the Third World War, and they haven't persisted on into the modern age of the future, with humanity reorientating its goals and its priorities, and less in the pursuit of profit and commerce, and more in the pursuit of knowledge and personal happiness, with people basically embracing their personal interests with the higher degree of automation of society, and how lives and civilization is allowing people to explore their own needs and desires and artistic goals rather than needing to for profit reasons. But that's my thoughts. There literally is almost nothing. There is a throwaway line in the sort of deleted parts of the script from Star Trek First Contact that I've only read about but never actually read the script, so this take with a pinch of salt, where they do mention a old McDonald's being converted into like a bunker or something. Basically what used to be this old restaurant called a McDonald's that no longer exists, but the physical building that used to be it has been reused as something else. Now, that's in the script, or the original script for Star Trek First Contact, but it was removed. Again, I'm going to take a wild guess that was for copyright reasons. But, again, the whole question of, do you take something that was in the script, that was never filmed, as potentially being canon, or even a form of beta canon? And do you believe that perhaps other races, like the Ferengi, may have adopted these franchises, perhaps purchased the name McDonald's or Disney, and gone on to subvert it for themselves? As the Ferengi have a lot of 20th and 21st century tropes, television dramas, they have movie productions, they have the casinos, and a lot of the things that define human civilization in the 21st century as a medium of entertainment, like television, the Ferengi have. They've even got smoking and shall we say, casual substance use as a thing in their society. So is it possible? Or maybe the Orions or others. We know other races such as the Bolians, the Orions, the Ferengi, again, they do like these such alternative forms of entertainment. Is it plausible, or is it plausible that some humans may have just continued these things on? We know that wealth and the pursuit of power in those respects is still a thing that some humans entertain the idea of. Harry Mudd, for example. And I hope this video wasn't as much fluff as it actually turned out to be, and feels like it might have been, because I thought about this and I thought it's an interesting subject, but then when I actually really delved into it, there's very little. Humans certainly have artistic expressions and points of interest, archaeology, music, dining and other such things that are all common, that people do get together and they do things like play poker, and they play games, they do martial arts, they do things that they want to do, but there doesn't seem to be an institutionalized outlet for it, like a casino or something like that, at least in the same way, and at least they're never mentioned. And you can only infer that perhaps they still exist. Sporting games, things like that, baseball, for example, as another thing, is actually a big thing, with major teams still batting around, pun intended, sorry, I'm so sorry, in the 24th century, at least. And it's the same with other forms of sport, including racing, which we have seen in the future done by both other races in the Delta Quadrant, and it seems to be something that some humans take quite seriously, and people like Tom Paris want to participate in and likely have done in the past. We also see that contests of speed take place within Starfleet to test new engines and ships, as well as for younger officers such as Sam Rutherford building a high-speed craft. It's all there, it's just we see pieces of it, indications that these things have survived on. Just whether or not bigger institutions from our time period in the 21st century have survived is a bigger question. But after that long, slightly babbling rant, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and if you made it all the way to this video, thank you for watching. Bye bye.